Hey guys, this is the last video for today. So we're going to talk about nomenclature, and nomenclature is naming. So after this, you should be able to do the entire ionic naming packet. There are kind of some reminders in the packet and some directions, but that's going to be for you to work on for Friday. So hopefully you got the majority of it done in class, or you'll have the majority done. So a couple of rules for ionic naming. You're going to first write the name of the cation. So remember, the cation's the positive. It always comes first. Just write the name, okay? So off the periodic table. Usually it's just an element. If the anion is an element, so the second one, the negative charge, you're going to change its ending to "ide." So an example would be oxygen becomes oxide. Phosphorus becomes phosphide. Fluorine becomes fluoride. Some of them you take off more than others. You guys have your computers today. So when in doubt, just give it a little Google search, okay? And then we'll get used to it as we use it more and more. And then the other option is if it's a polyatomic ion, so things like nitrate and phosphate and sulfate that you have to find on your gold sheet and that you're going to memorize some of them. You're just going to write the name. You don't have to change it at all. I'm going to talk about the second bullet point in just a couple of minutes, okay? So let's go to the next slide. And of course, I've got some practice for you. So our formula is strontium and selenium. So strontium is our cation. So we're just going to write the name. So SR is strontium. And then selenium is just an element. So I'm going to take the ending off, ium, and I'm going to add an ide. So it's going to be selenide. Notice I didn't do anything with the number of each, okay? So with ionic compounds, the charges have to balance, and so we don't need to say how many of each there are. You should be able to find that from what elements you're using. Next, we've got magnesium and nitrogen. So again, magnesium is the cation. We're just going to use the whole name. So magnesium. And then nitrogen is just one element, and so we're going to change the ending to "ide." So instead of nitrogen, it's going to be nitride. Again, you guys notice I didn't do anything with those numbers. In an ionic compound, you have to balance the charges, so it doesn't matter when you name them how many of each you have. There's only one way to get those to balance. Okay. So what I want you guys to do now is go back to your nomenclature packet and find the very first thing, binary ionic compounds, and go ahead and name these here. Okay, so these are all just basic naming with the two elements. So pause the video and work on this worksheet. Hopefully you paused the video. So now we need to do a little bit more work, okay? So when we did metals from the first two groups, we knew the charge. Remember when we talked about the periodic table, we said there was a group in the middle that don't always follow the rules. So these are the transition metals. And when we have a transition metal, it's possible for them to have more than one charge. So sometimes they might lose 2, sometimes they might lose 3. Okay? So there is a list of these on your gold sheet. It's mixed in by element name on the common cation side, but we can also look at it based on the formula, and we can figure out what the charge is. So iron is a transition metal, Fe. It's in the middle of the periodic table, and so there's possible that it could have more than one charge, and so we need to say which charge it is. So if we go back a slide, that's that last rule. If the cation can have more than one charge possible, we have to write the charge. So we have to tell them which one do we have. And we're going to do that with a Roman numeral in parentheses after the name. So if we look at the charges of these, We're unsure about iron, but fluorine, we know, is always a +1. And so we can cross that charge kind of back up. So remember, we crisscross down to get the formula, but we can crisscross those charges back up. So we're going to put the 1 back up to our fluorine there, which means that this 3 has to come back up to the iron. Sorry, that should be a negative. So our iron is going to be a +3. So when you look at your table, that's a choice, okay? Or when you look at your gold sheet, that's a choice. And so I'm going to write this as iron, and then in parentheses, I'm going to do the Roman numeral 3. And then I'm going to just name the anion exactly the same way. So fluorine becomes fluoride. Okay, so now we have to check our periodic table when we get these elements to see, are they a first or second group element, or are they in the middle, the transition elements? So do I need to worry about having multiple charges? So if you find copper, Cu, on your periodic table, you are going to find that it is in the center, and so we need to worry about the charges that we have. So let's look at this again. So we've got copper and we've got chlorine. So copper is going to be a positive charge. Sorry guys. And chlorine is going to be a negative charge. Now, chlorine doesn't change. It's a halogen gas. It's always going to be -1 because it's in group 7. So that is bringing our 1 back up. Okay. So now we need to take this 2 and we need to bring it back up. And that is going to go to our copper. So basically, we're undoing our crisscross to find the charge on our transition metals. So to write this, we need to do copper in parentheses 2 and then chloride. Okay, let's go back to our nomenclature packet. Find the section that says Part 2, binary ionic compounds with the variable charge metals. Okay. You're going to either write the formula or the name based on the name that you're given. So I want to do one with you. I want to go to cobalt-1 fluoride. So what that's telling you is that cobalt's charge is a 1. So you don't even have to look this one up. So it's just going to be cobalt. Oops, I'm in the wrong spot. Sorry. Cobalt. Do it over here. Cobalt is going to be a +1. And then fluorine is a -1 because it's in group 7. And so when we crisscross, we don't write 1s. And so our formula would be COF. Okay. So go ahead and finish the other ones on the screen, pause the video, and then come back. I've got one more type for you. Okay, hopefully you did those ones. You were confident. You can always check answers with students around you, especially as you're getting to the end of this here. So the last one is polyatomic ions. And we already kind of read the rule that we're just going to use the name of the polyatomic ion. So we just have to identify that one. So NH4, NO3, these are 2 polyatomics, okay? NH4 is your cation. So you're going to look on the cation side of your gold sheet, and we're going to see that that's ammonia or ammonium. So when it's polyatomic, we just write the whole name. We don't change anything. And then as you're getting used to it, you're also going to have to look up the NO3. Okay, so we're going to find that that's nitrate, and we just write the name. I'm going to go quick. I'm running out of time. So CS is cesium. Element, just write the name, and then SO4 you're going to find is sulfate. Okay, next one, magnesium, and then PO4 is phosphate. Go ahead and finish up the packet now.